Everybody's piling on Nebraska head coach Matt Rhule. Now it's Michigan's athletic director. Why is everybody picking on him? I think we have some answers. Locked on Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer, and I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hit that free subscribe button down below so you never miss an episode. Meanwhile, we are brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So, Warde Manuel, shots fired at Matt Rhule. What's going on here? Plus, Big Ten tournaments, women's, men's. We got you covered on everything. Eddie George has a new gig, and we'll have our top 10 Big Ten observations from the weekend. See if my list matches yours. But it's been a tough week for Nebraska head football coach Matt Rhule. Last week, Michigan coach Sherrone Moore and Clemson head coach Dabo Swinney seemed to take shots at Rhule for canceling his annual spring game in Nebraska. Rhule said he was tired of his players getting poached in the spring transfer portal, and he wasn't going to show off his players on national TV. But Sherrone Moore and Dabo Swinney both said, look, your players are going to get tampered with no matter what. You might as well have the spring game. I kind of lean in that direction as well. And you may remember about a week ago or so, we talked about here on this podcast that Matt Rhule was doing another podcast interview that included Urban Meyer. And he said to Herbs, why in the world would you schedule tough non-conference games in September? It makes no sense the way the college football playoffs are set up. Rhule is of the opinion that schools like, for example, Indiana, who went to the playoffs with an impressive 11-1 record last year, but they only played one ranked opponent all season long. That was at Ohio State. They lost that game, but won the rest of their games and got into the playoffs. That's when he turned to Urban and says, well, why in the world would you schedule anybody tough? Start racking up wins. The committee only looks at your record. Some people agree with him. Some people do not. He went on to say, look, playing 9 Big Ten games on the schedule every year, that's enough. That's enough scheduling. That's a tough enough schedule for anybody. So why add more difficulty with the non-conference games? For the record, the Huskers pre-conference schedule in 2025 includes Cincinnati, Akron, and Houston Christian. Not exactly a top 25 gauntlet. At least he's sticking to his convictions. But Michigan athletic director Warde Manuel disagrees with Rhule's philosophy. Now, you'll remember Warde Manuel was the chairperson of the College Football Playoff Selection Committee, the ones that put out rankings every week and the ones that decided who was going to be in the playoffs and who was seeded and all that. He was right at the head of all that. He's not now. His term is up. But we can point out that a lot of people criticized Michigan in the 2023 season when they went undefeated and won a national championship, that their pre-conference schedule was light. However, there's a caveat to that. Remember, they had Washington on the schedule. They had to drop them because Washington was joining the Big Ten. And they played Texas last year. They're playing Oklahoma this year. So I don't think you can take any shots at Michigan and their scheduling. But this is how it moves forward. When Warde Manuel definitely had some opinions on this, and he let it be known in a recent conversation. He reminded everybody about Indiana and the Indiana situation specifically. He said, look, in fact, this was on the Triple Option podcast. He said, look, Indiana lost a 4-way tiebreaker to be in the Big Ten championship game against Oregon instead of Penn State. It was that close. Indiana was a good football team. Emmanuel believes that they deserved a playoff spot, even though they were beat soundly by eventual championship runner-up Notre Dame. Manuel went further by saying that the committee values those tough non-conference games on a schedule. He said Alabama, for example, was the highest-ranked 3-loss team. They had a tough schedule. The committee recognized that. They won some tough games, and that's why they were right there on the doorsteps of the playoffs, but didn't quite get in because what cost them? Remember? They had some bad losses mixed in there too. Anybody remember the Vanderbilt game? Anybody remember Alabama only scoring 3 points in the entire Oklahoma game? That's what kept Alabama out, not tough scheduling. Bottom line is, I think the schools should go ahead and schedule at least one impressive, tough non-conference game and maybe 2 easy warm-up games. Some people like to call them cupcake games, whatever. Schedule them that way. That's what I would do. I think a tough game on the schedule does a lot for everybody. First of all, it's great for college football. It's great for podcasts. It's great for you, the fans. It's great for the media. It's great for everybody. It's great for the teams. It's great for the teams because it helps you gauge where your team is early on in the season. And by the way, if you win that game, you're in great shape. If you lose it, all right, so what? You find your weaknesses, you go to work, you watch the film, you go to practice, you get better and use that game to make yourself better as you're going to have tougher competition at the end of the season. Nobody will hold a tough loss against a tough team against you, especially early in the year. Anybody barely remembers it by the time we get to the playoffs. And it's all ancient history by the time the playoffs roll around. So I would be a little tougher on scheduling than, say, Matt Rhule and Nebraska. I would be inclined to put one tough opponent on the schedule each and every year for the reasons I just mentioned. Would love your thoughts on it. It seems like Matt Rhule, between canceling the spring game and not scheduling anybody tough, he's taking a lot of heat from people like Sharon Moore and Dabo Sweeney and Warde Manuel. How about you? Are you tough on him too? Or are you like, hey, I don't blame him. I don't blame him. That's the way it is. You can feel that way too. Would love to hear your comments on YouTube. Let's get that going, that conversation going there as well. Meanwhile, as long as we're talking about Michigan's athletic director here for a moment, let's talk about their football team. I heard Sharon Moore tell everybody over the weekend how he flipped number 1 5-star quarterback recruit Bryce Underwood from LSU. He says relationships. He said he already had a relationship with Underwood, but when he became the head coach after Jim Harbaugh left, he doubled down on it, reinvested in it for like the whole year, and then it paid off in the 11th hour. He said he already had a good relationship with him, but he really dug deep and reinvested in it. And he said, if you're not talking to these kids, somebody else is. So keep going after them. Oh, and by the way, $12 million in name, image, and likeness. That had to help too, just a little bit. Sharon Moore also updated us on his quarterback battle as he goes into spring football here. Underwood is obviously the freshman coming in that everybody wants to see, myself included. But remember, they brought in Fresno State transfer Mikey Keene, who's got a lot of experience. I mean, if you're going to bring in a true freshman, and Underwood's a young true freshman, like 17, just going on 18, it's good to have some veteran backup leadership in that quarterback room. So Mikey King from Fresno State's coming in. Don't forget they got redshirt Jaden Davis. We'll see what he can do as well. Maybe make things super interesting in that department. And one more note, as Michigan's pro day workouts are quickly approaching, corner Will Johnson. He missed most of last season with just a couple of nagging injuries, and he's expected to miss his pro day as well. And he's still recovering from all of that stuff. And he is, though, going to be cleared in time for a private workout on April 14th. So, look, despite the injuries, despite not playing, despite missing the combine, despite missing a pro day, I think he's still going to be the first corner taken off the board in the NFL draft. Many have him ranked ahead of even Heisman winner Travis Hunter. Michigan fan, you want to chime in on that? We'd love to hear from you as well. Hey, before you do anything else, hit that subscribe button for free. Real quick. It's just a click. It takes that much time. Subscribe and follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcast. That way you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten, and you'll never miss a single episode. You get it as soon as it becomes available each and every day. And I also ask if you don't mind to share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten as well. Hey, don't forget, we got a website. You see a crawl on the bottom with our Twitter handle at Talk Big Ten, and also our website, talkbig1010.com. All of our podcasts go there if you want to go back and catch up on something you might have missed going into the weekend. We also have links for your favorite teams. We've been talking a lot about here. Michigan, if you're a Michigan fan, you want some Michigan shirts and hats and T-shirts, all right there. A link is provided if you want to check it out, talkbig10.com. All right, Lots to talk about. We got some basketball we got to cover here because it's an exciting time of year for everybody. March Madness, Big Ten tournament. The women just wrapped it up over the weekend. Congratulations, UCLA. We'll talk about that. The men's tournament gets underway. Eddie George has a new gig, moving up the coaching ranks. Oh, and speaking of coaches, maybe some definition on which way the Hoosiers are going to go with their basketball program. All that's coming up in 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. Supply, let me tell you about Supply House here. Supply House. Get supplies that you need from the site, made from for the skilled trades here. It's Supply House, whether you're into plumbing, HVAC, electrical work. Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands, you find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. You need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trademaster program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage of this, and now it is your turn to do so. Join the Trademaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Also, you could use the promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Wayfair. My wife and I, we shop at Wayfair all the time. You can help out your home, reflect your style with Wayfair. It's easier than ever to make that happen, whether you're looking for just a simple refresh or tackling some home project. Wayfair has everything you need in one place. Wayfair's huge selection makes it easy to find the perfect piece of furniture or accent or whatever you need, no matter your space or your budget, from cozy furniture to stylish decor to kitchen essentials, outdoor must-haves. Wayfair has it all, and all at prices that fit your budget. So I've purchased rugs, chairs, the whole thing right there. Very easy to find. You can find everything from storage solutions to patio decor. It's a go-to for those hard-to-find things right there that they're just perfect for the house. Head on over to wayfair.com and find something that's just your style today. That's wayfair.com, WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. I want to thank you for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day, especially you everydayers out there. Meanwhile, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below so you never miss an episode. Share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten. And don't forget our website, talkbig10.com. Merchandise and all of our podcasts all in one place. All right, I have some Buckeyes news for you here. Eddie George, remember him? Great running back in the day. He's been the head coach for the football team at Tennessee Tech. Now he's the head coach at Bowling Green. He gets a 5-year deal. He played 9 years in the NFL and primarily with the Oilers/Titans, dominated the Big Ten back in the day at running back at Ohio State from 1992 to 1995. Won the Heisman in 1995, Big Ten Most Valuable Player that year. And as the head coach of Tennessee Tech, his record was 24-22, and he was the Big South OVC Coach of the Year in 2024. So congratulations to him. Also, congratulations to the ladies of UCLA basketball. They beat USC in the Big Ten Championship on Sunday in Indianapolis, 72-67 the final score. This is a battle of top four titans in the world of women's college basketball. Lauren Betts, 17 points and 5 rebounds, got over 1,000 points for her career in this game. And Juju Watkins, 29 points and 6 rebounds. If you watched, she put up 28 shots, 9 of 28. Not a great percentage, but the shoulder's going to need to be iced down. 28 shots. But that was in the Big Ten, the women's championship. So congratulations to UCLA. These teams, UCLA and USC, neck and neck among the upper echelon of college basketball all season long. They're probably going to meet again in the NCAA tournament for sure. The men closed out the regular season with a big game with Michigan and Michigan State. Michigan State won that one 79-62. Michigan State is red hot. Trey Holloman, career high 20 points. Jace Richardson with 18. Tom Izzo's team has won 7 straight going into the Big Ten tournament, and 5 of those 7 have been against top 25 teams. Michigan State looks good. And Michigan, Dusty May, great season so far. So they'll both be going into the Big Ten tournament. So let's take a look at it. It all starts on Wednesday in Indianapolis. So we'll start off with the 13 seed Northwestern taking on 12 seed Minnesota. That is the 3:30 game. And the winner of that game will take on 5 seed Wisconsin on Thursday at 2:30 Eastern. Iowa is the 15 seed, last team in. They take on 10 seed Ohio State. That's at 6:00 p.m. on Wednesday. And the winner of that game will take on 7 seed Illinois at 6:30 on Thursday night. 14 seed USC taking on 11 seed Rutgers. That's an 8:30 game on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, the winner of that game will play Purdue, the 6th seed, 9:00 on Thursday. There's another game on Thursday that is 9 seed Indiana, which had a big win against Ohio State. They're taking on 8 seed Oregon. These two played about a week ago. Pretty tough game that Oregon was able to pull out at the end at Oregon last week. And the winner of this game between Indiana and Oregon will play Friday at noon against number 1 seed Michigan State. Other teams that have the double byes that don't play until Friday, we got 4 seed UCLA. They'll take on the winner of that Wisconsin matchup against the winner of Northwestern and Minnesota. Number 2, Maryland waits the winner of the Illinois game from the day before. That'll be at 6:30 on Friday. Number 3 seed Michigan versus the winner of the Purdue game the night before at 9:00 on Friday night. The semifinals are Saturday at 1:00 Eastern and 3:30 Eastern. And then Sunday, the men's Big Ten final will be at 3:30 from Indianapolis. And that leads right into Selection Sunday when we find out who's getting in to the NCAA tournament, a tradition we all love in the middle of March. Speaking of men's basketball, and we were talking about Indiana just a minute ago, let's take a moment to address their basketball head coaching search. Again, as the Hoosiers close out their season with a win against Ohio State on Saturday, I think that W will be enough to get the Hoosiers into the NCAA tournament. As is, they have won 5 of their last 7. Those wins included victories over 11th ranked, at the time 11th ranked Michigan State and 13th ranked Purdue. And before that run, nothing was going right for the Hoosiers. And they looked like they were on the outside looking in regarding the NCAA tournament. That was when Mike Woodson announced that he would not return next season to coach the team. So who will be the next head coach of the Hoosiers? We have speculated this a number of times about a number of candidates right here on this podcast, but it looks like Indiana Athletic Director Scott Dolson may be ruling out a few, or maybe he's been told no by a few. We can probably cross off a short handful here, including Celtics executive and former Butler head coach Brad Stevens. He doesn't want to leave. There was some chatter for a moment about Michigan's Dusty May because he's an Indiana grad, but then Michigan just upped his contract when they sniffed that. There was Iowa State's TJ Alsenberger. Doesn't look like he's going anywhere. And Baylor's Scott Drew. So it doesn't look like any of those candidates that were kind of high on everybody's list moving along a couple of weeks ago. It doesn't look like it's going to be any of those. Chris Beard's name is still out there. And, we also have to wonder, somewhat tongue-in-cheek, right? With all this success that the Hoosiers have been having, and if they extend this success into the month of March, could Mike Woodson come back? I don't know. After Saturday's win over the Buckeyes, he said, hey, maybe I'm leaving too soon. Maybe. All right. We'll love your comments on that too. Indiana fans, step up with that, or however you want to talk about your team going into the Big Ten tournament. Would love to hear it. Over the weekend, I'm very observant out there. I got my top 10 Big Ten observations from the weekend. and I will share those with you. We'll see if my list matches yours. That's next right here on Locked On Big Ten. Let me tell you about FanDuel. FanDuel adds to the excitement of watching games. It makes it even more excitement now that March Madness is here. FanDuel's giving you a chance to get on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. It's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories. You know how March goes. And even the final game when they're cutting down the nets. So you got my eye on a couple of underdogs. Illinois getting healthy. I don't know. That's one to keep an eye on, I think, for a while. Michigan State red hot. So with those tournament games happen every day, you can be part of the action. The FanDuel app is easy to use. And when I win, I get paid instantly. No waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. That is at FanDuel.com. All right, it's time now to take a look at our top 10 Big Ten observations for the weekend. If you're audio only, I'm going to put these on screen, but we'll talk them through so you don't feel like you're missing out on anything. And we'll start it off. I want to give a shout out to the Big Ten wrestling tournament all weekend long on the Big Ten Network. Just everybody. I know that's a lot of work getting ready for all that throughout the season, and give them a shout out there from the Big Ten wrestling tournament. And Penn State's always good at wrestling. But speaking of Penn State, let's talk about DeMarco Dunn. 25 points for Penn State to win at number 12, Wisconsin, 86-75. That was a bit of a surprise. So that was costly for Wisconsin. No double bye in the men's basketball tournament because they lost that game. They were in a three-way tie with a couple other schools, and they don't get the double bye. So they got to play an extra game. Maryland's Julian Reese, 19 points and 11 rebounds in Maryland's 74-61 win over Northwestern for their home finale. Way to finish strong. Maryland might be another team to keep an eye on here in March Madness. Also, how about UCLA's Eric Daly Jr., a career-high 25 points in a 27-point blowout win over USC over the weekend. So he made our top 10 Big Ten observations from the weekend. Indiana's Trey Galloway. He hit a huge three, just dropped it off there off a left center three-pointer, scored 16 points, but that was kind of that putting in that final nail against Ohio State. And afterward, it was senior night for all the seniors. This was the second time for Trey Galloway. He was a senior last year, did the senior night farewell to the crowd, and then announced, I'm coming back next year. So 2 senior nights for Trey Galloway. He's playing really well now. Listen, Trey Galloway, he missed the postseason last year. He had a knee injury, right? In fact, it was in the senior game last year. And he took a little bit of time to get going this year. He's playing really well right now. So is Purdue's Trey Kaufman-Renn, big-time player, 29 points in the Boilermakers game. They did lose the game to Illinois, but 29-point effort. You gotta take notice of that. Speaking of Illinois, in that game against Purdue, Illinois was down 10 midway through the second half. They went on a 13-1 run, and they beat Purdue by 8. Illinois really struggled this year. They've always been good. They have been ravaged with injuries and illness, and yet they look like they might be getting a little bit healthy here at the right time. They had the 20-point win at Michigan last weekend. They go and they beat Purdue. That was at Illinois this weekend. So, yeah, they look like they're coming along. Let's see here. What else we got? Michigan State basketball. We got to put them on our top 10 Big Ten observations, just the way they closed out the season. They beat Michigan on Sunday, 7 straight wins. 5 opponents of those 7 were ranked. They are ready for the month of March. No question about it. At number 2, shout out to Eddie George, now the head coach of Bowling Green, former Heisman winner at Ohio State. Congratulations to him on getting that gig. And then at number 1, our top 10 Big Ten observations, the slugfest, the UCLA, USC women going at it in the Big Ten tournament for the women. Both of these teams have combined for 58 wins this year. I have a feeling, and congratulations to UCLA for winning this game. I got a feeling you're going to meet again in the postseason, but they both have had outstanding seasons. Both ranked really high. UCLA was number 1 forever. USC was ranked up there all season long. So congratulations to the ladies of the Bruins and the Trojans as they play, and UCLA wins the women's Big Ten championship this weekend. All right, and now they'll wait for Selection Sunday, as will the men as well. So there you have it. Our top 10 Big Ten observations from the weekend. Did I leave any out? Let me know. Hit me up with the comments. Always love to hear from you on stuff like that. There are many ways for you to interact with this podcast. First of all, I would always welcome more listeners, more viewers. If you know somebody that is a Big Ten fan, word of mouth is great. We're here every day. This is the only place where you get a Big Ten podcast that A, covers all 18 teams, B, does breaking news, C, gives you analysis of that news, and D, gives you opinion. And I take yours too. It's all under one umbrella. It's the most unique Big Ten podcast in the country. Check us out each and every day. Many ways for you to interact with us. Don't forget Twitter, X, at Talk Big Ten. Our website, talkbig10.com, where all of our podcasts are. Plus, you can buy your own favorite school merchandise there. Be sure to subscribe down below before you go, if you don't mind. Thank you very much. And follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app. You get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. You don't want to miss an episode. Just subscribe. It'll take care of it for you. We also have our friends, Locked On College Basketball with Isaac Shade and Andy Patton. It's March. They talk basketball all year round. This is their wheelhouse. Check them out. You can find Locked On College Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts as well. Thank you for joining us. Can't wait till we meet again tomorrow for Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. We'll talk to you next time.